I'm delighted to be here with Mari Kiviniemi, the Deputy Secretary General of the OECD. Welcome to Asia House.
Thank you.
Today's an interesting day for the United Kingdom with the Brexit negotiations starting. OECD, of course, has been a champion of globalisation and open trade and open markets. Do you see any positive outcomes that might arise from the negotiations, or are you concerned about the impact that it will have on trade and markets?
So, of course, before the Brexit referendum, we also undertook a survey how we see what will happen to the UK and the European Union after Brexit, and we said that the consequences won't be positive. So, of course, we were not happy with the outcome, but that was a referendum, and of course the leaders here in this country then have to do the best out of that outcome, and that is something where we encourage now UK and European Union to find the best possible solution, which would harm a free trade least.
Okay, looking at the global economy more widely, we've seen globalisation and nationalism struggling back and forth. There has been a rise in populism in certain countries, but many of the Asian countries have been quite strong proponents, notably China recently, a very strong proponent of globalisation and open markets. Do you feel as though there is a new approach needed for those who are promoting open markets and globalisation, or is it more of the way that globalisation and the benefits of globalisation can be communicated to domestic populations?
I think that we have to communicate a bit better, really to show the real outcomes of free trade, how billions of people have been lifted up from poverty, and how also in developed countries so many people have benefited from free trade and globalization. And maybe some detailed examples of that are needed in order to explain to people how the real outcome is. But also policies should be improved at the domestic level. Those who have lost their jobs because of digitalization, automation or globalization, so that they get retraining, education, that their skills are improved, so that they have it easier to find new jobs. And active labour market policies are needed. And also at the international level, better cooperation so that trade really is fair, so that companies play with the same rules. Level playing field is needed.
And of course we're in a transition period where countries like China are playing a bigger role in the global economy, of course contributing enormously to GDP growth. Also India and other developing countries, many of which are in Asia. Do you see the Asian countries playing a bigger role in setting global policy, global trade policy and cross-border investment and other areas, international trade and investment?
I think that we need more and more countries which really speak up and show the benefits of free trade, and also are active at the international fora in order to build the international system. So in that sense, I of course see that the Asian countries will play a bigger role because their participation in global value chains has been increasing. But I also want that the old supporters of free trade will really continue their work.
And your recent economic research at OECD has indicated that the global economy is still growing at about 3%, which is below the longer-term average of 4% before the financial crisis. Are you seeing a return to the previous levels? Do you think that we're on a lower growth phase for quite a long time?
So we see that we are still a bit in a low growth trap. So this year we expect the world GDP growth to be 3.5%, and next year 3.6%. So we are not yet there where we used to be earlier before the financial crisis. So more needs to be done, and what we encourage countries to undertake are structural reforms, which will improve the competitiveness of the countries, less regulation. Also, R&D has to be very high on the agenda of the countries, so that new innovations are created, and via that productivity can be increased.
Yes, and technology and innovation, in fact, has been both an opportunity and a challenge for many countries. As you alluded to earlier, jobs will disappear according to technology. Other jobs won't disappear, but will be significantly changed in terms of how they function, and therefore require retraining and reskilling. We see in emerging markets, China has put a huge amount of effort into research and development. That has been the case in some of the OECD member states. How do you see policies impacting and improving the innovation of countries putting to practice over the next few years?
So innovation really is a key when it comes to the performance of a country. So that's why we encourage all the countries to really continue in investing in R&D and in educational skills also, because educated people is the best resource a country can have. But of course we have noticed that some countries, also because of austerity packages, have not in recent years invested that much in R&D. So when now many countries have more fiscal room, this is now the time to invest in R&D in order to then in the long run increase the innovation rate and also productivity.
And if I can just ask a question about free trade agreements and the arrangements between countries on trade and investment. We've seen the collapse of the TPP, or what looks like the collapse of the TPP. Certainly if it does continue, it will be in a very different model without the United States. Has that left an opportunity for the other Asian countries to contribute more to a trade agreement? Is that something which the OECD is looking at closely, as well as trade agreements in other areas of the world?
So multilateral agreements are of course the best solution. And we still think that countries should be encouraged to work in the WTO, so that every country would be on board when it comes to liberalizing trade in goods, trade in services. Also when it comes to investment, some more needs to be done at the global levels, so that every country would play with and every company would play with the same rules. But also these regional agreements are okay. So when it comes to PP, so it was a disappointment for many, and nothing came so far out of that when it comes to all the countries. But these regional agreements are also kind of the second best solution. But as I said, I still think that we should aim for high at the global level and keep the WTO working well.
All right, Kiviniemi, thank you very much.
Thank you.